My name is Alex, and the following episode may contain bad language.
Hello and welcome to the Favourite Football Podcast. I'm James Killick, and with me today is Benjamin Howard.
Gyro.
Daniel Fitzpatrick.
Hello there.
And James Brett.
Hello.
So before we begin, thank you very much, Alexandra, who kindly sent in the language warning. So it's very kind of you to send that in. You sound very professional, much more professional than us, so please do not start a football podcast.
It's not hard at all, yeah.
Keep them coming in, guys, and we'll save them and use them on future episodes. Also, we've got a listener review this week, which is from NickinXO, which is a 5-star review, which says, love the podcast, especially the extra time episodes. Cheers me up on the morning commute. So thanks very much. We're glad we can help you, and good to hear you back to work. All right, then. Okay, guys, let's start then with the first game of the weekend, and probably the most exciting. Aston Villa 0, Leeds 3. So Aston Villa obviously unbeaten before this. Ben, what went wrong?
Just about everything, I would say. I thought Leeds were very good at anyway. Like, as we have seen Leeds this season anyway, we've all been impressed by Leeds, and they just attack with such numbers and intent, and it's so hard to defend against. And we've obviously praised Villa as well because they've kept clean sheets as well. But yeah, I mean, they weren't really at the races, and Leeds were obviously deserved winners, and Bamford getting a hat-trick, which probably shut a lot more people up, including myself.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what did you think of his performance?
I mean, it's funny because obviously he had a loan spell at Palace, didn't do much, but he got a hat-trick against Bromley in the pre-season. He didn't do much at Norwich in the Prem, so I mean, whenever he's gone to the Prem, he's not really kind of delivered, but obviously Bielsa stuck by him in the Championship, he's his main man, and even his main man in the Prem, and obviously he's got 6 goals. I mean, what more could you want? 6 games, 6 goals.
So it must be a confidence thing as well, because, you know, those goals he scored on Friday, they weren't tap-ins or nothing, they were some serious goals, you know, especially that last one with the quick footwork and the way he sort of slowed it down in the penalty box before he sort of curled it into the corner. It was like, you know, he's a completely different player to what you was talking about beforehand. So yeah, he was obviously electrifying, you know.
Even the second was well taken. Even the second was well taken as well. Like, it was a bit of a knuckleball, wasn't it? If you can't see the ball moving on it, like, I thought it hit the crossbar well, but the way he hit the ball as well, he's like, no one's going to save that.
I saw it from a distance. I thought it was Ronaldo. You know what I mean?
Ronaldo Bamford. Well, yeah, that was fantastic. We see a performance, but looking at the game as a whole, I mean, we say Villa weren't at it, but I think Villa actually, for the first half, were probably the better team. I mean, there was a clearance off the line, wasn't there? They had a couple of other chances, and I think Leeds, it was good to see that side of Leeds, you know, they can defend, and their goalkeeper's very good as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's been a difference lately, Meslier. Yeah. How many times have we put him in our, you know, team of the week last few weeks? So, as much as, you know, they are frightening going forward, like you said, Leeds, you know, defensively, they're quite sound as well. And obviously, with that Grealish chance that was saved off the line, it was Alien, I think. He's had a good few weeks as well. He's solid at the back. And like you said, Meslier, a couple of very important saves just before Bamford started going. So, yeah, you know, as much as we sort of give them credit going forward, defensively as well, they're pretty sound. And, you know, Aston Villa were lucky.
I think a lot of us would have said at the beginning of the season, maybe Leeds didn't have a top quality goalkeeper. You had Sia, who was there. He got done for racial abuse and obviously didn't look convincing in the Championship. So I think a lot of us were probably saying, where's Leeds going to get that solid goalkeeper from? But obviously Messi has proved his worth.
Well, at the beginning of the season, didn't they concede quite a few goals? And now they've actually lost a few games. They've conceded hardly any.
Well, yeah, they conceded 4 against Liverpool. I mean, that's no shame conceding 4 against Liverpool at all.
What's the second result? I can't remember. I can't think of that in my head.
Goals galore, wasn't it? Oh, it was, what's the name? Was it Fulham? 5-4-3 as well?
Yeah, it was. So I just thought Leeds were just going to try to outscore every opponent.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Now they seem to.
For this game, then it's good to see the difference, isn't it? But the goalkeeper has been a bright spark, I think, through that. Obviously, conceded goals, but there's only so much he can do. And of course, we had Luke on the podcast. You can go back and listen to that one. A Leeds fan before the season started, and he said, didn't he, that this goalkeeper had been fantastic, and his distribution's good, and it is. And it's been a real bright spark. And I would say in this game as well, just before the goals happened, Grealish had that run, didn't he, from his own half. And it could have been goal of the season. He ran from his own half, didn't he, all the way into the other box, and it was saved. He took on a few players. But Jack Grealish has looked fantastic this season as well.
Yeah,
absolutely.
With Villa, they've obviously got the quality players around him, like Barkley, McGinn, and Luis as well, so that's helping him as well. They've got Watkins, who's probably the best striker there, to survive a season with Wesley, didn't really hit the heights, and then they offloaded Samatta pretty quickly because he's gone off to Turkey, to Fenerbahce. So I guess they are a better team now, Villa, because obviously the 4 wins out of 4. They're still got a game in hand over anyone. So if they win their next game, they can still go top of the league, which would be a fantastic start for Villa. Even though they lost 3-0, they've still got bits about them.
Thing is, it's no shame losing to Leeds as well, because you've already seen what they're capable of. It's been a strange start to the season anyway, and quite a lot of the teams in the Premiership at the moment, you sort of look at the result and you're like, although normally we'd look at it and go, oh, you shouldn't be losing to them. At the moment, you're like, well, actually, you can sort of see it happening. It's been so bizarre. This has probably been actually the most
normal weekend.
Most normalish sort of weekend. It's been so high octane the last few weeks,
Low scoring compared to the last few weeks. I was thinking, where are all the goals gone?
Yeah, anti-climax now. I'm expecting...
get bored. I
expect 10 goals a game. What's this going on?
Yeah.
It's a bit weird, isn't it? It's actually a bit strange, because like you say, the first few weeks, what do we have, sort of 44, 42, got around that figure, wasn't it? And suddenly, when you see like a 1-0 or a 2-1, you're sort of like, oh. We've been spoiled. But do you think teams are maybe adjusting to the weird circumstances? Do you think that's what it is?
Yeah, I think, without the pre-season, I think the first few games is probably like their pre-season. Now we've had the first few games in the Premiership. We've also just had the international break as well. I think it's starting to simmer down a little bit now, and I think teams are starting to get into their stride. So it'll be interesting to see what results we get next few weeks.
Yeah, just a quick recap on Bamford's goals and before we move on. Obviously, we had the first one, which was really good anticipation by him. A very good finish into the corner. Obviously, like you said, the second, almost like a knuckleball, wasn't it, Ben? You said there. Into the roof. And the third one was really impressive. He was surrounded by players, wasn't he? And he looked like he had so much time. He didn't, but the way he moved it onto his left and put it into that corner, I mean, what an amazing finish that was. Really impressed.
What I found interesting with Leeds as well, in the 95th minute, obviously they're winning 3-0, but they were on the attack. And they had about 6 men in the box waiting to get a fourth one as well. So even at the end of the night, at the end of time, they still got 6 or 7 bodies running in the box to get more goals.
Yeah, they're animals, man. They get a taste of blood and they just keep going, don't they? It's like a shark.
It's hard. I think it's hard to keep it up, especially when you're sort of 1-0 down or 2-0 down. They're still coming at you constantly. I think it must be so difficult to be on that pitch and just think, oh God, not again. Just stop, please. All right, obviously a fantastic win for Leeds, and obviously it brings them right up the table. And Villa, as you say, game in hand, and they've had a fantastic start, so I'm sure they'll be fine. Let's move on to the next game then. West Ham 1, Manchester City 1. Daniel, you enjoyed this one?
I did. I had to watch 3/4 of it on my mobile phone going around work, and then I watched the rest at home. But it was a tale of two halves, really, this game. And before the game, I definitely would have taken a point. But I'm quite disappointed that we didn't actually win. We defensively were really, really, really good, I thought. And maybe Man City weren't at it. And the second half, or maybe there's maybe a few injuries, and the game just changed. It was all basically Man City, and my heart was in my mouth for a long time. But in the first half, I think we absolutely...
You dominated. Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Especially with that early goal as well from Antonio. What a fucking goal that was.
Could it have been handball? Who knows? Probably not. But I'm glad I didn't give it as a handball and take it back. What Soucek did to control it and put it corner, gave it back to Sofal. And then to Antonio, all the strength of him. Like holding back Ruben Diaz and a little overhead kick sort of thing. Oh, beautiful. Just great to see.
He was, wasn't it? He's in incredible form as well. Since the Premier League restarted in June, only Harry Kane has scored more goals than Antonio. So that really shows you the form he's been in. Like you say, his strength, and he's always had that strength and pace, isn't he? But now he seems to have that end product. It's really coming along nicely for him, isn't it? At a time as well where West Ham, I think, really need it with some of the issues they had last season. So, Dan, what's changed since last season to now, be where you are and to put up a great result against City? What do you think's changed?
It's formation. I think we found a formation that really works with our players, and we're not relying on Mark Noble as much to hold the midfield. And he's 34. I'm glad that he can probably just come on as a super sub. Probably score like 5 goals when he comes on. But,
all pens as well.
Yeah, he knows what he can do. But it's just the formation, the players we've got. Souček was a great signing. Bowen's a great signing. Antonio, obviously been with us for a few years and he's played all over the place. Surprised he hasn't gone into goal. But Moyes has put him up top, and I think that's the perfect place for him. I mean, he's keeping Haller on the bench, who was one of our biggest signings 2 seasons ago. So obviously Moyes sees a lot in him, and fans love him. He works really hard. And I think this new signing, Sofal, he's really, really, really good as well.
Yeah,
you mean Kufal?
No, it's Sofal.
I think it's Soufal, isn't it?
I'm calling Kufal.
Oh, bloody hell. We've got 3 different interpretations of this name. That shows how professional we are.
Let's split the West Ham fan.
Yeah, let's go with him.
No, you're right though. Like, I think like this result in particular against Manchester City does show the progression that West Ham are making under David Moyes. And, you've only got to look at, they've lost their previous 8 games against City by an aggregate score 25-3. So,
that was crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, so you'll take this. Do you know what I mean?
For sure. I was expecting before the game probably like another 5-0 because City haven't really been at it at the moment. I just thought it'd be typical. We'll give them the confidence again, and it'll be. But very happily, please, I'll take the point for sure. But the second half, it looked like Antonio came off quite early. I'm hoping it's not an injury because it's quite bad if he does. And then Bowen got taken off, and we had Yarmolenko, who didn't have the best game, if you were watching it. But everything he was doing was terrible. But Fabianski, I think he had his 250th game for us
on
Saturday, and he had a blinder.
Yeah, last 10 minutes or so, he made some big saves, didn't he?
Yeah, a bit of a job around the room, like, come on! No! But
was it Sterling when he was 1-1 with him?
Yeah, what a save!
That was a great save, must admit. And even the Mahrez one, when Mahrez just charged into the box, and I think he sort of like made himself look big, tipped onto the post, and I was like, if that was it Roberto you used to have before?
Oh God, don't talk about him.
If that was him, then they would have been nestling in the bottom of the net. Do you know what I mean? He makes such a difference, Fabianski. Such a good goalkeeper.
Yeah, definitely. And even Balbuena, he hasn't been playing that often because Diop had the Rona and he had to be benched for a while, and obviously isolated, all that sort of stuff. And it's given Balbuena a chance to play in this free, and he's really been performing.
It's incredible, isn't it? The turnaround, and I have to say, admittedly as well, I do remember putting West Ham as my team to go down in 18th position.
I
might have to get that out and give a little demand. No, I won't. But fantastic start, and it's good for David Moyes, isn't it? Because obviously after Everton, he obviously had the bad spell at Manchester United, and then sort of became sort of a laughing stock. Did well for you, obviously. Then got sacked straight away for Pellegrini when they had the chance to get him. He's come back. It's good to see him, isn't it? And he's getting the respect. I think he's earned it. He's got a good background staff there as well.
Had a little 6-month stint, and I've been happy to have kept him the whole time because he done well to keep us up at that point. And then we got Pellegrini and started off a little well, then we had the injuries and that went to pot. And he's come back and he's shown his worth for sure. But I mean, the fixture list we all saw at the beginning of the season, we didn't think West Ham would do anything from that, did we?
No, you were quite scared when you saw it, weren't you?
Yeah, I thought
at the moment you're seeing quite pretty.
Yeah, definitely. It was been a good It's a good start of the season so far, minus Newcastle, but yeah, we don't talk about that.
Yeah, well,
but then it's Guardiola's worst ever start to a season.
Yeah, I was going to say, it brings us on nicely, I guess, to Manchester City. I mean, they did have a lot of chances, but it's odd with them, isn't it? They're such a fine-tuned machine that one little issue, I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, like, the Mahrez had a couple of bad touches, like, especially one in front of goal when you thought if he would have controlled it, he would have finished, and Sterling had a couple of touches that weren't quite right, and it's odd with them, isn't it? I mean, they played one game less than a lot of the other teams, but at the moment they're in 13th, which is just weird, isn't it? It is strange, yeah. And Liverpool obviously sitting in second, who you'd say are the main sort of competitors this league. So, what do we think about Manchester City this season?
It's a weird one. They've had injuries,
Company and David Silva. I think still miss David Silva and company. Two leaders in that dressing room, and I can't see any leaders in that Man City dressing room.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Like I said, they haven't replaced those people, not with leader type characters. Obviously, you could say Foden's like the natural successor to David Silva, and obviously he scored in this game. He does look lively when he's on. I don't know. I still don't think he's at that quality yet. I know he's still young,
but he did change the game when he came on.
He did. You're quite right. Yeah,
like you can show you how good he's going to be when he's older and more developed. He's just going to be a scary talent.
I think they're missing the strikers. Obviously, Aguero keeps getting injured. He hasn't really, and I think Gabriel Jesus has been injured as well, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you haven't got a recognised striker really. I think Sterling's not great as a false nine. I don't know if he was playing false nine or Mahrez on the weekend. I'm not too sure, but I think that makes a difference. I don't think De Bruyne has been hitting all cylinders yet. I think he's still getting just warmed up. I think it's a mixture of reasons, really. I think they're still suffering from a bit of a hangover from the season before, but yeah, they don't look like their usual selves at the moment.
But with the amount of money they spent, though, you would be expecting them to. We always associate Man City with being perfect and so hard to beat in that, but the 13th, they've not been as good as people made them out to be.
Maybe they're still hurting from that Champions League defeat. It's Leon, how Pep was like over tinkering everything. Maybe they're still a bit hurt from that.
Could be. They obviously didn't have their best form, did they? And it could be a hangover from that. But I think I don't know, Brett or Benny just made the point about the sort of big players now not being there, but I think that is true actually. Losing company, Aguero seems to be out a lot at the moment. I mean, he scored his first goal the other day in the first time in something like over 250 days. Obviously, we did have the Corona break in the middle of that, but he's injured again now, isn't he? And when you lose your big players, if you look back to the big teams of the past, you look at the Manchester United, you look at someone, say, they always had like the Gary Neville, didn't they, and the mainstays. He may not have been the best player in the world, but I think you do need them players, and I think they are lacking, like David Silva going. I think that's huge. Should they have kept him on for another year? I don't know. I guess it's easy for me to say that now. If, they were winning, obviously, we wouldn't be saying it, do you know what I mean? But it does sort of feel they haven't got the signings quite right. They brought in Rodri. I don't think he's really worked, has he? And obviously Fernandinho, he's like 35 now. It's tough, and it's Pep's potentially last season, so maybe it's the end of an era. But
we could only hope.
It would be hard. It would be hard to see who would take over Man City then. Like, if we're all saying this is Pep's last ever season, you expect him to go out with a bang. Because you'd imagine he'd want to win the Premier League after last year. You'd imagine he'd want to go for the Champions League, as he's not won that. Well, Man City haven't even got close to that. So you'd imagine he would want to go out with a bang and not with a whimper there.
I don't know. Sometimes you just have a natural cycle with managers and that. I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily him. I don't know if it's just because, like you said, the players they've brought in haven't really hit the ground running yet, the last few signings. And with City, as much as they have spent so much money, not all of those signings have been successful. They've spent a lot of money to sort of even get the ones they have got right. Do you know what I mean? It's been a lot of trial and error. So maybe it's going to be a couple more, transfer windows for them. And maybe once they get lucky with those players, they'll be all right. You know what I mean? Like we say, it's all time anyway. All teams have cycles. And, we're speaking very ahead of time anyway, because we're only a few games in, and they could completely switch it on, and then we're all in trouble. So, it's hard to say at this point, but I think, probably down to the injuries and the fact that the signings they have had haven't had time to quite settle in yet.
Well, I'm glad that West Ham have played them then already, so they haven't got the time to settle.
But we hardly ever hear of Guardiola get criticised compared to other managers. We always think he's untouchable, and whatever he does is basically unbelievable. But he needs to be criticised as well, because if it was Man United, we obviously criticise Man United for their signings and that. But why do City not get that as well? Why do they not get? Yeah,
the media don't necessarily do that as much, but luckily, Ben, that's where we come in and we can slag him off the high hill. So
I think
no one is safe.
I think we have here, and I do agree that a lot of money's been spent. It's weird, isn't it? Because a lot of the players who are absolutely fantastic under Guardiola, let's not forget that season when they smashed 100 points. I mean, that season was some alien football. Maybe one of the best Premier League teams we've ever seen. It was just absolutely incredible. A lot of the big boys in that season were the ones who were already there, weren't they? And
yeah, he inherited them. Story De Bruyne, Aguero.
Yeah, and it's kind of a story at Bayern Munich as well. The players were there, and obviously at Barcelona, the squad was pretty much there. And I do wonder, maybe the recruiting and sort of almost like the rebuilding, it's something that he hasn't done, and it doesn't mean you can just do it because you're a genius. I mean, maybe he's not quite judging the parts coming in right, and it's not working, because obviously, as you say, some of the defenders like Cancelo, I mean, what was the point? And Ake, I mean, he looks okay. It's a difficult one, but maybe in time we'll see a bit more from them, especially with this strange old season. But we'll have to see. All right, guys, let's move on then to another game, which is Southampton 2 and previously unbeaten Everton 0. Brett, what did you make of this one?
This is probably the biggest shock of the weekend, I would say, really. The way Everton been playing so far, and I was pretty convinced after, it was the last game against Liverpool, I think, wasn't it, the draw? Everton. Yeah.
It was, yeah.
After that, I was sort of thinking, okay, do you know what, I think, they could actually be a serious outfit. They've really turned a corner so far this season, and instead we got the Everton of yesteryears, because they sort of just reverted back to how they used to play. It was bizarre, really, both teams started quite lively, and obviously Sigurdsson hit the bar about 20th minute or so. I was thinking, this is going to be it. Then all of a sudden, Southampton just run rampant, Ward-Prowse was bossing the midfield, Decore and Allen didn't know what was really going on. James Rodriguez, you barely heard a peep from him all game, really. It was weird. It was like Southampton played with a completely different level of intensity compared to Everton. And it reminded me a lot, actually, of how they played last year, the second half of the season, when they made that huge improvement.
And they came into that form. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it reminded me a lot more of that. So, I'm happy to see that side of Southampton again. So, but Everton, it was very disappointing. I don't know what you guys thought.
I called it. I put in my bet that Southampton would win as well. For some reason, I had a lucky feeling.
Why was that, Ben? What made you think that?
I don't know. Maybe, obviously, we heard beforehand that James Rodriguez might not play. Like Ancelotti's doing the mind games. Rodriguez not play. So I think with Rodriguez being so influential this season, then obviously that's going to hinder them. But obviously they had Sigurdsson and Iwobi playing as well. So that's not the strongest lineup they could field, because they had Godfrey at right back, who is not a right back. And Southampton targeted that very easy, as you could see. Bertrand was going down there, Redmond was going down there, Ings was going down there. So you could tell that's what Southampton were targeting straight away, because the guy's not a right back, he's a centre back. And I think that's what Southampton done well. They targeted a problem area, and then they exposed it, as you saw with the second goal. Ings crossed it in, and Gylfi Sigurdsson completely missed the header, and Adams was there to easily finish it.
Yeah, it's true. I'd say Redmond and Bertrand were causing them problems all day. And Ings had a great game. He had 2 assists. So, he's trying to do a Harry Kane and trying to assist from a striker. So, must be something to do with English strikers at the moment. But yeah, he was, electrifying as always. Ward-Prowse goal was really good, actually. This is what I mean. Everton sort of switched off, and it was like a throw-on from the right, like a quick one, which absolutely threw him off. Ward-Prowse sort of played it into Ings, and Ings held it up and then slipped him through. He obviously blasted past Bigford, but it was just they just switched off. And they just never looked quite at it, to be honest. And I think when you're playing a team that is playing with that sort of intensity, and they played aggressively as well, and they were pressing Southampton. So you're just never going to get a result when, you know, you're playing lackluster like that, because, like I said, Hasenhüttl today got his tactics spot on, and like you said, they, you know, targeted their weaknesses. I just don't think Everton really showed up today, which is disappointing considering how well they've started so far.
And along with putting the high balls into the box as well, you got Vestergaard and Benrick. These are two fucking mountain guys, and they're going to head away everything. I can't see Calvert-Lewin winning a duel against either of them two. They're both like 6-foot monsters.
Yeah, Vestergaard's the tallest player in the league, I think, isn't he, actually?
What was he, like 6'7" or something?
Yeah, something
like that, yeah.
So, maybe the best way. I have to say, I noticed as well, I thought that after, I mean, considering the 2 goals were scored within 35 minutes, I thought, well, they can easily come back. But I think Everton, they look very frustrated. They looked a bit sort of angry and a bit mopey, and it's not really something I'd associate with the Everton that I've seen this season. And obviously we saw the red card, didn't we, from Digne, which I've watched it a few times. What do you guys think? Because I guess it was bad, but was it intentional?
Went surfing, didn't he, on Walker Peters'
in real time, was it intentional? Do you think it was?
Yeah, it was accidental for sure, but before that he did attack him, like nip at him a few times, but a bit unlucky, but it's a bit dangerous doing that to his ankle.
Yeah.
Could have broke it.
I think it was accidental. I know he did have a couple of goes at him, sort of thing, which is probably just showing the frustration. But yeah, I think it was accidental. But either way, it was kind of dangerous. Like, it was well above his ankle, like near his shin, where he sort of stood on his leg. So, you know, you've seen it. You know, when some serious injuries have happened, when you go in with studs like that around that area. So
yeah,
I think it probably was the right decision. But I can understand in a way why he's probably frustrated with it. But yeah, you just don't have your leg that high, man. I don't know.
two red cards in 2 games. It's quite bad for Everton. A lot for Charlison. Don't know how many games he's out for.
It'd be straight reds a 3-game ban, isn't it?
Silly Everton. Digne's out. It's 3 more games.
That's a big loss,
The thing with Everton, though, is that we've seen how good their first starting lineup is, but now they're getting players out. How good are their replacements? Because would you say Iwobi's better than Richarlison? No. Sigurdsson started ahead of Andre Gomes, and Godfrey started ahead of Coleman, who was out injured. So it's now a matter of squad depth with them. If their squad players can live up to their first 11.
Yeah, it'd be a good test for them, to say the least. I don't know who they've got next, actually, but
they've got to bounce back, haven't they? They've got to bounce back. But like you say, the players now they're bringing in are the players really that last season didn't perform up to the level. So I guess once you take away the big players there, they do have an issue with squad depth, and I guess a lot of clubs do. They are going to have to find.
Oh, I think we got United, actually. I was just thinking.
They got Newcastle away.
I thought United had them.
That's
That's the week after.
Either way, if they're both suspended, them lot, then maybe we can actually get a point. Lol.
I guess the last thing to say about that game is it was actually a year after that loss against Leicester. Do you remember the 9-0? It's been a year since Southampton.
Yeah, God.
So, I mean, what a turnaround, eh? Beating the most informed team in the Premier League. A year
Southampton are all grown up.
It's gone quick, hasn't it? A year?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable, really, to think it's a whole year ago, but...
God, we're getting old.
Yeah. Time's going fast. Just to quickly mention the other games before we move on to some other news. Obviously, Crystal Palace got a good win away, 2-1 against Fulham. Ben, did you enjoy that one?
Gyro.
Yeah, we saw a debut goal, didn't we? And a good win. Manchester United and Chelsea drew. Probably good for Chelsea, they didn't concede. The highlight of the game was probably the Harry Maguire headlock
match.
Yeah, the WWE.
Yeah, The Rock would be proud of that. Well done, Maguire.
I don't know how that wasn't picked up. I don't know what's going on anymore, but we won't speak about that because, you know. Liverpool 1-2 after being down to Sheffield United. So, yeah, good win for them. Wolves, Newcastle drew. Newcastle fielded a team which was basically attacking players, but actually their goal came from a very odd free kick where the wall just wasn't over enough, really, to...
Yeah, that was bizarre.
That was, wasn't it? If you watch the replay as well, you see Patricio, he's trying to move the wall. He's saying, move to the left, but then he goes to take the free kick, and he just sort of shuffles back to his position, and the wall doesn't move because he hasn't got time. He needs to get into his place, and the ball goes exactly where I think Patricio thought it was going to go. And yeah, but I'd say a good point for Newcastle. I'm disappointed for Wolves, really. And Arsenal lost 1-0 to Leicester after Vardy came on. I have to admit, I watched him come on, and I was panicking, and he ruined my night. Thanks, Jamie Vardy. Previously praised him. I'd like to take all
11
praise
goals
back.
in 11 games against Arsenal now.
Yeah, I mean, the guy is just a nightmare for anyone, isn't he? An absolute nightmare. Okay, guys, let's move on to other news then. So this is quite big. There's been reports that Sky and BT are looking to scrap the pay-per-view games. And obviously us guys, we've seen sort of people rebel against it, haven't they? And they've been putting money towards food banks, especially since Marcus Rashford's initiative was sort of shut down. Everybody's been clubbing together. I think clubs have raised thousands. So it's a good thing, isn't it, Brett?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it was obviously a scandal in the first place, you know, the prices they were quoting, especially if you look at some of these results today. Imagine paying £15 to watch that dross. Bloody hell, I've been
asking for a refund.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me, sir.
You know, they used the first couple of weekends to go, yeah, £15 is worth it. Look at all these goals. As soon as you have to pay for it, 0-0, 1-1. Ah, terrible.
It's all a conspiracy. It's all a conspiracy. They're told to do that.
It does feel a bit like that, doesn't it? But yeah, obviously that's good that they're going to scrap that. So I don't know what they're going to put in place. I haven't actually heard, you know, if they're actually going to be doing anything. I have no idea. I just heard they're going to scrap it. So maybe you guys know more.
No,
the club collection food banks is good, obviously.
Yeah, it's fantastic. A lot of clubs actually, and I was going to mention a couple, but actually loads of lower league clubs as well have been putting money together. The communities are really coming together, and really it all started from a fight against the ridiculous prices for some of the games. So it's incredible, really. It's a lovely gesture from fans, especially at the moment when obviously, you know, times are tough to really give money to that sort of cause. It's brilliant, and it's good to see all the clubs fighting against it. I don't know what they're going to do, if they're going to go back to showing all the games again, or if it's going to be like it was sort of pre-corona, where obviously some games just weren't televised. I don't really know.
Just ask the Prime Minister, Marcus Rashford, to see what he can do.
Yeah. I think Marcus Rashford is just a wonderful man, isn't he? He really is. Obviously, he's a footballer first, but using his platform to do what he's done, I think we have mentioned it on here before, but incredible. I'm glad he's fighting against.
Yeah.
Glad he's fighting against everybody. Rashford MBE, as he's now known.
Absolutely. King Marcus.
Yeah, King Marcus. Okay, guys. I guess that's it for today, really. Just a quick note that the Monday night games will be on our Extra Time podcast, and that will be on Friday, because, of course, we've got the Europa League and the Champions League games again this week. And the last note to finish on, it's a bit of a sad one, but it's very important. There's reports that Jeremy Wisten, who's ex-Manchester City youth player, is passed away at the age of 17, apparently suffering with mental health issues. So obviously, all of us here, our thoughts are with the family, and we will put the GoFundMe that started in our description notes. So if you can help, obviously go check that out. But very sad news, obviously, being so young, 17 years old. It's a
tragedy, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Very sad. Very sad. All right, guys. Okay, until next time. Bye from me and everybody else. See you later.
Bye-bye.